everyone. Welcome to another On Stage podcast. I really appreciate you being here and watching. Over here, we have opera star and Canadian soprano Alexa Frankian. Hello, Alexa.
Hello, hello.
She's a multi award winning Canadian soprano. She's rapidly establishing herself as a rising star in the opera and art song world. At just 24 years old, she has already earned praise from Opera Canada as abundantly talented. Wow. So last year, Alexa joined the prestigious Merola Opera Program, where her portrayal of Mimi in La Bohème was described as simple, unaffected, and beautifully sung San Francisco classical voice. She also captivated audiences with her performance in Iolanta, while her voluptuously rich Russian and radiant, surging sense of purpose, San Francisco Chronicle, left a lasting impression. Following this success, she returns to Morola for a second season this year. Alexa Frankian was also invited to join the Academy of Vocal Arts, AVA, in Philadelphia as a resident artist. Congratulations.
Thank
Where she
you.
would take on roles such as Suzelle in L'Amico Fritz, Mascagni. I think it's pronounced Mascagni or Mascagni. I think
Mascani. Yeah.
Mascagni. And Despina in Così fan tutte, Mozart. Her recent accolades include encouragement awards from both the 2024 to 25 Metropolitan Opera La Front competition, Philadelphia District, and the 2023-24 Buffalo Toronto District. Yay! As well as third place in the 2023 Miller International Voice Competition, where she was the youngest participant. Alexa also holds a Bachelor of Music and Performance from the University of Toronto, which is like 20-minute drive from here. Artist diploma from the Royal Conservatory of Music's Glenn Gould School, where she
Yeah.
studied under Stephanie Bogle and David Aliakis. Her repertoire spans timeless composers such as Puccini, Verdi, Strauss, Wagner, and Mozart, as well as contemporary works. She's also championed culturally significant operas, including Bas Sheve, I
Bas
think.
Sheve.
Yeah. Yiddish Opera, North American premiere, and Alice Ho's The Monkiest King, a Chinese Canadian opera world premiere. With a voice that blends power and emotional depth, Alexa Frankian continues to make waves in the opera world, captivating audiences with her artistry and passion. Welcome for being on the On-Stage podcast today, Alexa. Pleased to meet you.
So wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
You're very welcome. It's so nice to meet you. I can't wait to speak to you. Can you give us a little idea? So, what inspired you to pursue a career in opera? Where did it all begin?
Okay. Well, when I was 14 years old, my mom and I went to Chicago for our Canadian Thanksgiving. And my mom had said to me after a long day of exploring the Windy City, that we should go to a fun, fancy dinner or go to the opera. And I had never seen an opera, so I was very intrigued. And next thing I know, we were at the absolutely beautiful Lyric Opera of Chicago watching Mozart's Don Giovanni, and I was just completely enamored. Um, Music was always a big part of my life since I was a kid, but opera really felt like this whole world where music, language, history, and emotion really collided in the most intense way. And once I experienced that, I knew I just wanted to admire it and I wanted to be involved in it and to live in those stories and offer that same feeling to other people.
Well, that's fascinating story. Look where you are now. So, can you describe your experience performing Mimi in L'Albo M at Merola?
Absolutely. So performing Mimi at Merola, which is from Puccini's La Bohème, such an incredible story. And it's honestly one of the most emotionally fulfilling and vulnerable moments I've ever had on a stage because she's very delicate, but also someone who's very deeply resilient. And bringing her to life was honestly like opening a door into a very intimate part of myself. Also, the production team and my colleagues created such a safe, like, beautiful environment for storytelling, and I felt like we were all working from the same emotional palette. And vocally, Mimi is about floating vulnerability. It's finding that balance between strength and softness. And that performance taught me a lot about trusting simplicity and being present in every breath. And it was truly something really special.
How did it make you feel that you were in front of there and you were just, performing and you have all these people watching you? Was there a time in your mind that you just thought like, I'm going to blow this. I'm going to blow this. I'm going to
You know what? What we do is so special, and we learn to give our everything and show our artistry. And you just hope that everything you've worked on is so ingrained into you that you can just show people what you're here to see and what we're here to do, you know?
Yeah,
So,
you must have had the same, like some sort of different feeling. Like, how did it feel to be recognized by Opera Canada as abundantly talented? What does that mean, abundantly talented? Why not more talented? Why not
abundant. I
awesomely
know.
talented?
My head will be so big it won't fit out the door. I know. Uh, Honestly, I think when you're working so hard in a field as demanding as opera, recognition like that really hits differently. And it's really incredibly humbling because you know how many talented singers there are out there doing such amazing things. And being described that way by Opera Canada was really deeply validating, especially as a young Canadian artist who grew up looking up to these singers that they often feature. But I also see it as a reminder to keep doing the work because talent is one thing, but it has to be matched with discipline, consistency, and generosity in your artistry, quite honestly. So,
It's amazing. I love your YouTube channel. You have embroidery aria from Britain's Peter Grimes, which is a really
yeah,
nice opera. So I love everything on there.
thank you.
Um, if you go to operabase.com, you type in soprano, you get over 30,000 sopranos so many. So it's sort of like, oh, that's such a talent. There's so many people out there. So what do you
Mhm.
think is the most challenging role you've performed so far?
Ooh, I think that would be Madame Lewan in Dialogue des Carmélites, which is Poulenc's opera, and that was honestly an incredibly challenging role for me, both vocally and emotionally. The role requires this enormous sense of like spiritual command and stillness because she's a nun, and even when the world around her is collapsing, it's not flashy, and it's built on a deep, quiet intensity, and that can be even harder to portray than just outward, large, big emotions. And I had to work really hard to find her emotional truth without ever over singing or overacting. And what's also really special is vocally, Poulenc writes in such a nuanced way that every color choice really matters. And it really stretched me in the best way.
Yeah, when you're talking about you played a nun?
Yes, Madame Lidwan, uh, she was actually a real life Carmelite nun during that time period. And it's quite a sad story because it's in the history of the guillotine where all of these nuns were sentenced to their death and martyrs uh, who believe in their religion and decided to fight for that until their final breath.
I can name you a actual um, nun that actually sings opera. She's her name is Sister Skustia, and she
Okay.
was on a version of America's Got Talent. And after she had three other nuns from her place of worship
Hmm.
congratulating her, she decided to leave the sisterhood,
Wow.
and now she's just a singer. So she decided, I might as well just, So I'm saying that that happens, but when you get a role like, Madame Ledoine, like how do you prepare for emotionally intense roles like that?
You know what? I spend a lot of time outside the music when preparing a role like that, reading, journaling in the character, even walking outside and thinking about how they carry themselves in the world. And for someone like Lewan, I researched the lives of all of these real life Carmelite nuns who the characters were based on and really tried to understand the psychology of the leadership under such immense pressure of what she had to deal with. And also vocally, it's about economy. I'd say making sure that every phrase has weight without excess, but emotionally, it's about the surrendering to the truth of the character and letting the music speak through you because you really can't fake that kind of stillness. It really has to come within.
I'm glad you did research on someone who actually existed instead of watching like the three movies, Sister Act, and saying, "Okay, I'm good."
That could be kind of the same story. That would be a fun version. I'd love to see that opera.
So, what excites you most, Alexa, about returning to Morola for a second season?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited already. Like next Saturday, I'm heading off to San Francisco. I'm just thrilled to be returning to a space that feels so artistically alive and collaborative. And Merola really shaped me this past summer. And I left feeling more confident, more connected to my voice, and really inspired by the people I worked with. And coming back, I feel like I get to bring a more grounded version of myself into the room. And I'm excited to push further, experiment more, and of course, deepen those relationships I
Hmm.
started in the building last season. And it's really rare to find an environment where the standard is so high, but the energy is still joyful and generous and just such wonderful camaraderie.
Do you think that as an opera singer and as a soprano, do you think that your voice is evolving over time, like getting better and better?
Well, definitely. The Our voices are continually, you're always training and doing better, you're learning. And the height of our careers, usually when our voices are fully, completely developed, is in our 40s. And that's the absolute pinnacle and height of your career because that's when your voice is at its finest. So from
Wow.
24 to 40, still some time to go, but always lots of training. And it's just such a blessing to be able to do it with such incredible people.
It's amazing. Then you have your mom there for encouragement and everything. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, my momager, always there, ready to do everything, helping me with anything I need. She's really the biggest part of that because if you need to have a great community around you for
Oh,
this.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
You're correct with that. Can you share your experience working with the Academy of Vocal Arts (AVA)?
Yeah. Yeah, AVA in Philadelphia. It really has transformed me because the level of training is quite unmatched because you're singing full roles regularly, which is very important, and being coached by amazing faculty. And you're constantly surrounded by colleagues who push you to grow. But more than that, it's taught me discipline and resilience. And I've learned how to show up every single day, even when it's hard, and to always lead with curiosity. I think the biggest gift has been developing my own artistic identity, I would say, and figuring out who I am as a musician, as a storyteller, and of course, a human being on and off the stage.
Phew. So, what are your upcoming roles at AVA? Like, how are you preparing for them?
Yeah, I have some really exciting roles coming up, and each one feels like a completely different world. I'm someone who likes to dive into the text and the character work early on because I want to know what they're afraid of, what drives them, and like how they move. What's also important is to know what was happening in that time period, what was going on when the composer wrote it, and what was happening politically. How would someone of my character status like act? Because those are something you need to know when you're walking on a stage. And then, of course, you layer in the music and um, I really work very meticulously with with my coaches on the colors, like my breath, my intention, everything, because I love to live with a role for a little bit before staging starts. And I also was taught this by one of my great acting coaches, Tom Diamond, to keep a character notebook where I map out the emotional arc across the show. And it helps me
Mm.
really stay grounded in the performance and remember what my character's intentions are and they're
Mm.
what they're facing and just to have that arc for myself to just stay reminded about that.
Does that help you?
It does. Yeah, just writing things down and knowing because of course we as people we have priorities and we have things that don't matter. We have things that are special to us. What wakes us up in the morning, what keeps us going. It's really having those choices as an artist to know this is what my character would be doing.
Yeah, I know what you mean by acting. I mean, acting a lot like you're in a movie or something, but acting like you're trying to put on this act of being that nun, right, or whatever
Mhm,
character you undertake. It's quite amazing what you have to do, and it's sort of like like in acting, it's called method acting. Like you would take that character home with you, and
mhm.
that's hard for you to separate from that. Is that easy for you to do, just to be able to walk away from that character once you get off the stage?
I feel grateful that I can do that, and I really sit with those characters, and I'm able to separate it. I would say, yeah, I think I'm very lucky with that. Method acting is quite an interesting thing and quite intense. So I always just like to say when I'm in the room, it is completely about who this character is. And if I open my score, meaning all my music, I can follow that. But once that's closed, unless I want to think about it, out of sight, out of mind sometimes.
How much of Alexa Frankian is in that character?
I would say a majority of it so far. Um, of course, because it's me on stage, but it's also making sure that all my characters differ and it's my interpretation. So not one character would be the same. And I always make sure that's a priority with my singing.
What was it like competing in the Metropolitan Opera La Font competition?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Competing in the Lafont competition was really exhilarating and surreal because it's the kind of opportunity you dream about, and I know one day I'll make it all the way to the finals on the Met Opera stage in New York City. And of course there are nerves. I tell those butterflies to fly information. It's what my mom has always taught me since I was young, but I shift my mindset to something more grounded because I'm here to tell a story and show what I love to do as an artist. And that focus on honesty really helped me stay present. Even though it's a competition, the connections and community backstage were really supportive. And it's really a reminder that we're all part of something bigger.
That's true. How did you
Yeah.
feel being the youngest participant in the Mildred Miller International Voice Competition? That must have been exciting.
Oh, absolutely. It was something of a mix of pride and pressure, honestly, because being one of the youngest made me feel incredibly honored, but I also knew I had to rise to the level of singers who had more experience. And I went into it with a student mindset. I wanted to absorb everything, listen carefully to the other performances, and grow from that process because that competition taught me to trust what I bring to the table, even if it looks a little bit different, because sometimes uh, a young student mind really brings freshness that's just as powerful as the complete polish. So it's just wonderful to watch what your colleagues who've been doing this for a little bit longer than you have and just kind of absorb what they're doing.
I got a story to tell you. Okay, talking about being the youngest in the competition. I remember a friend of mine who had like music recital because she was a piano teacher, great at piano. She was really good. She could play anything, and all her students were children within like 8, 9, I think the oldest 13. Imagine what call I got when they said, "Oh, the 13-year-old, whatever her name was, she couldn't make it. Can you replay?" I'm like, okay, so you have all these kids and then you have this 30-year-old. This is years ago, of course. I'm not 30 anymore, but when I was, so I'd be the oldest amongst all these kids to sing, and I had to choose a song. And it's kind of odd sitting there, and I'm the tallest, and I look around, I see all these kids, and then you have me, and they're all looking at me and said, "How old is that guy?" So it's kind of like, so it was a sort of like, but I think I did pretty well with that. I love
Mm,
singing.
yeah.
Alexa, what draws you to composers like Puccini, Verdi, Strauss, Wagner, and Mozart?
Yeah. They're all such fabulous people. Oh my goodness. Each of these composer has their own universe, and I'm really fascinated by the way they write for the voice. Puccini feels like home to me because he writes for the music he writes his music like for the voice so naturally, and he knows exactly how to tap into emotion with just like the harmonic shifts or subtle orchestration that can just grow into these like grand verismo style. And Verdi, he gives you this incredible dramatic propulsion, and you feel like you're riding a wave vocally and emotionally. And on the bigger side, which I hope to do more in the future, Strauss and Wagner stretch me in different ways because they require so much vocal stamina and like physiolo- it's just the depth of everything is just so incredible. And singing their music is like stepping into another dimension. Mozart, we always like to say, is like the voice doctor, and it's like coming back to the center. His music is very clean and honest, and it leaves no room to hide. So each one brings out a different side of me as an artist, and I'm really drawn to the balance of spirit, mind, and soul, and it physically sits all in different places.
Yeah, I love Mozart. He's got some really good music there. Um, I actually watched. Okay, so my parents used to go to a lot of operas. My mother loved Carmen, Evita,
Mm-hmm.
Tosca, all these other plays, and
Mm-hmm.
finally had an opportunity to see Tosca. And I saw Tosca at the Living Arts Center. You know that one just up here.
Yes, yes.
And I was just blown away, and I'm like, I can't wait to see Turandot because that has the actual that Puccini opera actually has Nessun Dorma, and that's my favorite song. That's from
Oh,
Turandot. That's awesome. And if you know anything of Nessun Dorma, if it's translated in English, it's just "None shall sleep tonight." It's
yeah.
amazing in English too. Um, but I'm I love how you like. How do you approach singing in different languages, like such as Russian in Iolanta? How did you do that? Please explain. Like I asked many opera stars and musicians how they sing in different. In fact, I had a mezzo soprano on, and she said it took her a week to learn Hebrew just so that she could sing that. I'm like, Hebrew? You can't
Yeah.
learn Hebrew in 1 week. How did you learn Russian, and how? Please help.
Yeah, that's such an important part of our singing because we sing in so many languages, and singing in another language is like learning how to feel with a very different emotional palette.
Mhm.
And with Russian, it's just so rich and expressive, and the values, good lord, and the vowels, they're very juicy to sing, and it makes you vocalize differently. And I always start by studying the language away from the music, and I work with native coaches on diction. I
Wow.
memorize the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, and
Mm.
I try to speak the text as poetry before singing a single note. I also listen and interact with native speakers, not just opera singers, because you want to have the rhythm of the language and communicating even the body language. Um, you wanna sound like I wanna sound authentic, not like I'm singing at a language, but within it.
Mhm.
And with Iolanta, I really immersed myself in Tchaikovsky's world and let the language guide the emotion. There's something very special when you see people's eyes tear over. That's when you know they feel what you feel. And especially in this role, if they hadn't read the synopsis, they wouldn't know my character was a blind princess, but they sure felt her. So
Mm,
when people come up to me after and share how they felt so connected, that's really what
wow.
it's all about. It's not just singing an aria. It's about being all in, being an actor, a storyteller, an intense communicator, and I think that's really what's kept opera alive for all these years.
Yeah, I sang a few songs in Italian. I had Italian people saying, "You're pretty brilliant. Your Italian's better than mine." I'm like, okay, well, I'm not. But what languages have you sung in besides
Yeah.
Russian?
Okay. So we have our major languages. It's always German, Italian, French, English. Then I have Mandarin, Arm
Mandarin.
yes, Mandarin, Cantonese, Armenian,
What?
uh, what else? Spanish,
Wow.
Czech, of course, Russian,
Wow.
and let me think, what else? Oh, yes, it was really fun doing a Yiddish opera. Um,
Oh my goodness.
and yeah, it's always fun. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of great things. I'm excited. I'm hoping at one point to do something in Greek. I think that would be exciting.
Wow. But do you remember this language off the stage?
I mean, the thing about opera is that we always study the languages, and I could very, very minor communicating with somebody in the language, but
Wow.
when you're studying these songs, they're just ingrained into you. So it's definitely something that I could remember if you asked me in 3 years from now to start singing something, because this is what we're trained to do.
And Mandarin and Cantonese. Wow, two different Asian languages. You know Mandarin. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So what was your experience performing in culturally significant operas like Bas Sheve, Bas Sheve, I guess, and The
Bas
Monkiest
Sheve, yeah.
King? Bas
Yeah.
Sheve.
Yeah, performing in Bas Sheve, it was a Yiddish opera, and it was
Mm,
deeply moving because there's a sacredness to singing in a language that carries so much historical and cultural weight, especially one that holds the trauma and triumph of a people. And it reminded me that opera isn't just about technique, it's also about bearing witness. In The Monkiest King, oh my goodness, it's rooted in the Chinese legend, and musical language was an entirely different challenge. I had to learn quite new sounds and new cultural cues and to expand my sense of theatrical style. Both experiences really made me a more flexible artist, I would say, and taught me how important it is to approach culturally specific work with respect, curiosity, and humility. So it's exciting to do those kind of things as
So
an
how do you
artist.
balance traditional opera with contemporary repertoire? How does that work for you?
Yeah. Um, I think of it as a conversation between the past and present.
Mm,
Traditional opera gives me this foundation. It's where I've trained, it's the canon I've studied. But
wow.
contemporary opera really lets me explore modern themes and vocal experimentation, and it often different types of storytelling. And I love both for different reasons. The key for me is really staying authentic in each genre because when I sing Mozart, I'm honoring centuries of style and
Mhm.
clarity. But when I sing something contemporary, I might be creating a role for the first time, shaping it with the composer. And balancing both keeps my voice very fresh and my artistry nimble. There's something pretty amazing when I get to work directly with the composers, like one of the greats, Jake Heggie,
Mm.
and ask, "What were you thinking here? Why is there such a strong emphasis on this word?" And it's just a real blessing to be able to get inside the composer's head and literally ask them why they did what they did and be able to collaborate on their music.
Yeah, I was told when you learn to sing, you have to enunciate every word. It's not just Nessun Dorma, Nessun, but the rolling R's and the Dorma, you got to emphasize.
Oh, yeah.
So, oh, it's amazing. So, like, Alexa, how many roles would you love to perform in the future?
Ooh.
Like, what's your ultimate role you'd like to undertake?
You know what? I think there are many, but I would say for right now, I think Tatiana in Eugene Onegin is at the top of my list
Mm,
because her emotional evolution is just so nuanced,
wow.
from innocence to heartbreak and to the self-possession. And vocally, the letter scene is just so stunning. And it being in Russian, it demands so much color, restraint, and abandon. And at the same time, I'm also obsessed with the Marschallin in Der Rosenkavalier and her wisdom, her elegance, the heartbreak. There are just many roles that live in my bones, and I'm so excited to be able to do that. And of course, Tosca, I think I'll be dreaming of her until I finally get to sing Visidarte under hot stage lights with the full orchestra.
Yeah, Tosca was quite the main opera singer that played that part, and
Hmm.
just like, how come you're not in films or movies? Like, she acted very well. She was really good. I just was so mesmerized. Like, wow. So all these all these roles that you undertake and singing different languages, and then you have your mother there and everything. Like, how do you maintain vocal health and stamina for demanding performances like that?
Yeah. Vocal health is really everything. I treat my voice like an athlete would treat their body. It of course it needs rest, hydration, and smart training. And I do consistent warm-ups and cool downs. I avoid over singing in rehearsals, and I really listen to my body because my body is my instrument. Sleep is non-negotiable. And I've learned to say no when I need to protect my voice, whether that's like not going out the night before a show or modifying how I'm practicing when I feel like fatigued. I also work closely with voice teachers and coaches I
Mm.
trust. So I'm always checking in with my vocal technique. And mentally, I try to stay grounded because, of course, stress affects the voice as much as anything physical, and to always be learning and knowing in this career I'll be a lifelong student. So that's always something that is really important for vocal health.
That is important. The least you
Hmm.
want to do is be singing an opera and then suddenly go, you know, like
Yeah, things happen. You never know what to expect because it's your body. Sometimes
that's
you just
true.
gotta go with the roll of it.
That's true. So someone at the end of one of your shows or Tosca, whatever you do, they go up to you and say, "Oh, that was woo." What advice would you give to young sinners aspiring to enter the opera world? And they say, "I want to be just like you."
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, um, be curious, be humble, and be kind, not only to yourself and to others. Study everything, the languages, the poetry, acting, body work, but I think most importantly, learn to listen, uh, to your teachers, your colleagues, your body, your instinct, and really listen, truly listen only to those who've earned your trust and those who can stand before you and say they've been there, done that, because it's not about the armchair critics. And we learn and listen to those who've done what we are learning. So, those I can respectfully say have forgotten more than I've learned. These are the people who are really the true treasures of this industry. And with them, I become a sponge, just ready to learn. And I'm just so eager to for input, 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 and just finding your tribe, because the people who believe in you and really challenge you to become the best version of yourself. And also, I think remembering that your value as a person is not tied to how you sing on any given day. We're all human, stuff happens. And this career is full of ups and downs. And the ones who last are the ones who build a life around the art, not just a career. And knowing that you have just there's life is still ahead of you, and no matter what, you do what works best for yourself, and nobody can tell you if you make it or not, you know?
That's true, and they would know a lot of things. Like for instance, like going to a specific music school, like even if they go to Miriam Music or something, which is one just down here.
Yeah.
Um, how did your studies at the University of Toronto and Glen Gould School shape your artistry? Do you think it helped you at all?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, those years gave me such a strong technical and musical foundation. At the University of Toronto, I got my first real taste of operatic repertoire and had really wonderful mentors who saw potential in me before I fully saw it myself. And at the Glen Gould School, everything became more focused. It was as though I'd been given wings to fly. I had that space to refine my artistry, challenge myself with harder material. It's also where I learned to balance academia with performance and how to really trust my musical instincts. And both schools really gave me the gift of rigor and curiosity. So that, yeah, absolutely. That really influenced how I am as an artist.
What do you enjoy most about performing live?
Oh my goodness. It it's really the electricity.
Mm,
The the feeling that anything could happen and that every moment is being created in real time with the audience. I always like to think that there's like this invisible thread that connects you to them. And when it's working, it feels
mhm,
like you're breathing together. I also really love how present it forces you to be because you
mhm.
can't fake it. You have to show up emotionally, vocally, and spiritually. It's terrifying, thrilling, but really deeply addictive because at the end of the day, the huge roar of applause is what's really, really special.
Yeah, and also you have to interpret and bring depth to your characters on stage as well. You're gonna make sure like you got a lot of people watching you, and
Yeah.
there's no time to make mistakes or error because like you may have to put on 20 or 30 shows or something, right?
Mhm.
And but so what do you think's been most rewarding aspect of your career so far?
Hmm, okay. Honestly, I think the moments where someone tells me they felt something because of my performance, whether it's someone seeing their first opera or someone who just went through loss and found comfort in
Mm,
a moment of peace. And it's those connections that mean truly everything because there are times when I see people in the first few rows on stage, and during an emotional moment, I see tears rolling down their face, but they're smiling and nodding at me. And it just means we are completely in sync. And what's special is many will wait after the show to come see us and congratulate us while we take off our makeup, remove our wigs, putting away the costumes,
mhm.
starting to look like humans again. And some just want to come hug us because they just want that touch to complete the
Mhm.
circle. Like I'd say that's the quiet reward, but a very powerful reward.
Yeah, I can imagine. So when you're standing up in front of everyone to do whatever character, um, how would you handle your nerves before a big performance or competition? How would that work for you? Like you're going to be nervous at some point.
Oh yeah. Well, I really consistently try to shift my nerves into excitement, and
Mm,
I breathe, I ground myself physically, and I always have my pre-show rituals. Of course, drinking lots of water, steaming my voice with my nebulizer, reviewing my important notes from myself, teachers, or the conductor, stretching, and of course a good meal to keep me energized, because I remind myself that nerves are just energy and it's really up to me to decide where they go. And I tell myself, like I said, those butterflies will fly in formation and that I am excited.
I can imagine. And if your mom or someone you know is in the audience, I know it'll cause a lot of problems when you start looking at them because the thing is, you don't. It's sort of like when I was doing I actually did a performance at Living Arts Center,
Okay.
and another recital I did, and my brother, my sister, were what, and like, never look at family because you're gonna think that you're performing for them, but you're performing for more than just them. So you turn your head away and you look above them and you do your best because as soon as you look at your brother, your sister, you're like, ooh, and you don't want to do that. So when your mother is in the audience, do you usually just kind of look above her and think that she's not there? Do you actually look at her, look for approval? Like, how does that work?
Uh yeah, I always try and find my mom in the
Oh,
audience. She's of course the person who grounds me the most, and um she's of course my safe space. So if anything's happening for confirmation, like you said, just to check in, but also I do all of this for her. So
wow,
yeah.
that's very nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I know. What do you think makes opera timeless and relevant today?
Okay. I think opera really taps into the vulnerable parts of the human experience, whether love, death, power, sacrifice. Like these themes never go out of style. And even if the settings are more historical, the emotions are universal. And I think in a time where everything moves so fast, opera invites people to slow down and feel deeply. And I think that's quite rare but needed. It also really continues to evolve with
Mhm.
contemporary stories, diverse voices, and new interpretations. So opera is very much alive. So love it.
Do you think any song can be turned into an opera aria? I ask that because Britney Spears is soprano, Christina Aguilera is a mezzo soprano. Could you
Yeah.
probably take any of their songs and make it operatic, dramatic, and sing in a different language?
I don't think every song, but I'm sure a surprising number could be. But what defines an aria is really the emotional stakes and a musical kind of architecture that allows for development. I've even heard jazz standards and even pop songs transform
Mhm.
beautifully in recital settings. And it's really all about how the music supports the drama. But that said, I know some things are better left in their original form, and that's okay too.
I don't know if you ever heard of Nathan Evans, but he wrote that song, "The Once Was a Ship Called Put to Sea." The name of the ship was, well, you have never heard a version sung in a Ukrainian before.
Sure.
Beautifully done, yeah. And thinking you could take any song and just change it in different language and sing it. It's amazing. But Ukrainian version of that song is like wow.
Wow.
Um,
Very cool.
so I know that you and your friend Ellie were chosen to be interviewed for TV outside of the Harry Styles concert, and they asked you to sing what your favorite um, song might sound like operatically. What was it like for you?
Oh, that was hilarious. I think usually, of course, being a classical singer, classical music is my life. But one big thing I have a love for, surprisingly, is Harry Styles. One of my favorite, he's one of my favorite pop singers,
Yeah, I like
and
him too.
yeah,
I never liked One Direction, but I certainly like Harry Styles. And that one by Niall Horan called "Heaven." That's a great song too. I
yeah,
like some of their solo work is pretty good.
yeah. They're oh my goodness, young me with One Direction was quite the dramatics. So love them. Um,
Okay, so what was your favorite Harry Styles song then?
oh my goodness,
Falling,
I do love that
Sign
song.
of the Times.
Yeah, I think oh boy. Oh, I love the song Kiwi. I think it's really fun. It's kind of a mix of the rock and pop, which is really interesting. Um, but that song I had performed, I it was one of his newer songs on his album, and I thought it would be fun to be like, oh, I'll just do a little rendition because, of course, being an opera singer. it's exciting to go and see other types of genres. So, of course, the interviewer was like, "Well, let's hear your version." So I just started blaring out something. So that was fun. But yeah,
Oh,
amazing.
wow. Sounds amazing. That was quite putting you on a spot. And I bet you your friend Ellie was going like, "What?"
I know. She's quite funny. I mean, she knows she is an opera singer for a good friend. So she knows always life will be the opera, the drama. You never know what's
Yes,
going to happen.
I love it. I very love it. So,
Yeah.
where do you see your career heading in the next 5 years?
Ooh. It's really like the saying goes, those who want you to win will help you win. And with that in mind, I will be singing on international stages. I will be continuing to grow into larger repertoire and collaborating with incredible conductors, directors, and composers. I think I'd love to balance core roles like Mimi, uh, Tatiana, Liu, Ellen Orford, the Countess, and with new works and unexpected projects. I I also want to use my platform to support accessibility in opera to help break down barriers for younger audiences and new singers because I think that's something that's very important for a new generation.
Yeah, I actually had a disabled, well, I don't call her disabled, but she's an opera singer. And she does circus acts while she's singing. Her name is Caitlyn Reading. She's really good. And then just recently, I watched an opera singer in a wheelchair. So, yeah,
Mm,
this accessibility to all sorts of singers and musicians. Sorry, my cat is trying to. Um, but yeah, that's amazing. So, I know that my last question here has actually been asked. So, I'm gonna have to give you a different one. So, how about this one? Do you think there's a retirement age for opera singers?
uh, I think so. I think most opera singers, usually between their late 60s to 70s, is usually the time that we officially put the aria books down and all the opera scores down. Because of course, like anybody, we want to have our time to enjoy, but being on the stage is truly something so rewarding. And yeah, that'll be quite the time until that comes, being 24 now. But yeah, it'll, who knows? We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I was watching this a 96-year-old opera singer, soprano. She started singing in a nursing home, and they
mm,
showed her a video of her singing in the 1920s, and she's same voice. So age doesn't matter. I go, she was almost 100. Well, she passed away 10 years ago, but she was almost 100, and she was singing at 96. And then
wow.
there was this tenor. He's got Alzheimer's, and
Mm,
he's 97, and he was in the wheelchair, and he was like doing, he was with Alzheimer's, so and an opera singer lady, I forget her name, but she sat down with him and started
mm,
singing Ave Maria, and he was singing beautifully Ave Maria, and it's so like music
mm.
heals you.
Oh,
Music heals
absolutely.
you, yeah. So it can heal your mind. So even though you got this disease called Alzheimer's, once you start singing, it's just amazing the healing that it has.
Yeah, music is very powerful in that sense. And I think that's really incredible to know that music can do something like that for our brains and for other people. It's just truly incredible.
Well, thank you so much, Alexa. Everyone, all our information will be linked down below in the show notes. I have one more question for you. I just thought of it, and I think you'll love it.
Okay,
Who,
I'm ready.
who would you Who would you like to do a collab with on stage?
Oh my goodness. Oh, there's so many amazing people. Okay. Well, I think one of my favorites, she's an incredible singer. She's a Bulgarian soprano, Sonia
Mm,
Yoncheva. I think she's absolutely wonderful, even
mm,
with Renee Fleming, one of the
mm.
greats. She's incredible.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness. Yeah, there's just so many incredible opera singers out there, and I'm so excited for when I get to stand beside people with just years and years of knowledge and just being able to experience that. It's exciting.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind doing duet with Josh Groban, even though I've seen him in concert a few times.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to say no if Taylor Swift says I want you to sing a song with me. I'm not going to say no, but I do have my preference, and it's like, okay, well, you know. But yeah, I mean, like it's amazing though. You got a great voice, and everyone, thank you for joining us and watching this episode. Thank you, Alexa. It's really nice to meet you,
Thank
and
you.
really
It
look
was
forward
such a
to talking to
pleasure.
you again. And yeah, and I thank you, Fraser, for introducing me to Alexa and her mother Onida Day, and I really appreciate that and setting us up. Thank you, Fraser. So, okay, thank you, Alexa. We're going to end this stream. Wait right there. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.